something I've been increasingly curious about is how arcade games evolved over time. In particular, how things changed as more and more games made the jump to home systems. Developers had options, whether just trying to re-implement the experience on an underpowered platform, or looking to expand upon the original game by remixing its mechanics. Then of course, there's those versions which are just emulations of the original, which became viable once home systems finally got powerful enough to cope. But in most cases, the old arcade design maxim of extracting as many coins as possible from players as quickly as possible means that most versions tended to suffer. Though for me, there's one such follow-up which avoids the trap. Tempest 2000. Hitting the Jaguar in 1994, Tempest 2000 takes the concepts of Dave Toyer's original and gives it the Llamasoft touch, turning the visuals all the way up to 11. Look, I had to go there. Look at that title screen. Look at the power of Meltovision. Sorry, not sorry. Tempest 2000 offers 4 modes of gameplay. Alongside the titular main mode, you've got Traditional Tempest, Tempest Plus, and Tempest Duel. Traditional Tempest is, unsurprisingly, the weakest. It aims to replicate the original arcade game, but by using the newer engine here, the result doesn't compare to the original. In fact, I found it significantly easier, which kind of made it less fun to go back to. Tempest Plus offers not only a minor visual upgrade, but some new mechanics as well. It's still not quite as thrilling as the main event, but being able to battle enemies with a friend, or the AI droid, helps it stand out that little bit more. Then, there's Tempest Duel. I'll admit, this one's a neat idea, but as it requires 2 players, and that I don't happen to have, its joy is a bit limited. The idea is you're pitted against your opponent, who is situated on the opposite end of the web. The idea being you've got to dodge and attack to eventually take them out. It's important to not be on your blaster constantly, as when you stop firing, you deploy a mirror which reflects any shots made at you back in the other direction. Though it offers a solo training mode against an AI opponent, it's a fairly basic opponent, and so you're not really going to get that experience, and it's a shame that it wasn't able to make this a little more challenging, as it could have been a cool twist on the subject otherwise. But if you've got a friend handy, it's worth giving it a spin. Enough of that, and onto the main course, Tempest 2000 itself. With 100 webs to conquer, you can see why I refer to it as the main course. It's a proper, solid challenge, and whilst the early webs might seem straightforward to work through, you'll find as you make inroads, there are some pretty gnarly ones you'll have to learn to beat. This time though, the challenges even up a bit because you've got power-ups. As you defeat enemies, they'll drop capsules to collect. These are divided between just earning bonus points and activating abilities which will last you the current stage. Whether those are offensive ones like the particle beam or the AI droid, or more defensive like jumping, there's plenty which change how you engage the enemies who'll swarm their way up the web to get you. Being prudent with how you clear them out will also give you a chance to earn a few extra special ones, like the warp tokens. If you manage to collect 3 of these, when you beat the current stage you're on, you'll be taken to a warp zone. There are 3 types of these on offer, and each requires you simply to make it to the end. If you can do it, you'll earn a bunch of points and can skip 5 levels. Thinking about it, 5 levels might not sound like much, but you have to approach Tempest 2000 like a marathon, not a sprint, and it can be handy if you happen to skip a stage that gives you plenty of grief. For me, this is where Tempest 2000 comes into its own. Unlike the original game, lives are easy to earn. They happen at every 20,000 points, and with skillful play, you can easily amass lots of them. What I find when getting into a good run is I seriously fall into the zone, so it could be a surprise to see just how far I've gotten once the dreaded game over appears. And it's funny how this game manages to engage all those feelings. Whether it's the feedback from the frequency of power-ups being dropped, to the way collecting a bonus or a pickup item explodes and shatters across the screen. The tricks which Minter added here may not push it into overdrive, as we'll see with later games like Space Giraffe, but it goes a long way to making it a more approachable game for newbies to the Llamasoft vibe. But let's circle around to the enemies though, and though you'll be facing many of the enemies present in the original game, you'll also find a new additions to the roster, like the demons, who in particular thrive on tripping players up. Not only do you need to shoot them 3 times to take them out, but as you do so, they'll throw parts of themselves at you, so you can't just stick to your lane as you try to blast them out. Now, the thing is, I feel I've barely scratched the surface of Tempest 2000. There's 100 levels to work through, and I'm sure there's plenty of surprises I've not seen yet. I know there's at least one other enemy type that I haven't faced, which is the UFOs, and of course I imagine the web layouts are going to be even more devilish than some of those I've already seen. Then of course there's the increased challenge you get with Beastie Mode, which is unlocked once you've beaten the 100 waves, and is just for those players who think they've mastered the game. And it's why I love it so much. You might write this one off as just a mere shooter or a mere arcade port, and whilst it doesn't offer the scoring or mechanical depth you'll find in other shooters, especially of the bullet hell persuasion, I think the sense of fun and challenge here makes for a far more rewarding experience, at least for those of us who are mere mortals. It's an experience that doesn't punish the player for success, but it allows them to keep going as far as they can. And that's really what I love most with arcade-style gaming. The rawness of the challenge of player versus computer, a challenge which slowly ramps up to the point where you're going to reach the kill screen, or its ending, or the game just becomes too much for you to handle. The problem for most tends to be that when you convert these kinds of games to home systems, the brutal arcade intensity is preserved, rather than rebalancing and reworking the game to be suited for longer play sessions and not for punishing you for 2 minutes of play. Thankfully, that is not the case with Tempest 2000. Its pacing is spot on. What also helps is the key system. When you've reached level 17, the start of the red webs, and have managed to earn your place on the high score table, the game will use the name you've entered as a key. When starting a new game, you can either start from the last odd number level you beat with a given key, or choose to start a new run from level 1. It's not quite the perfect solution, as you always start with 3 lives and no points, but it gives you a way to practice the levels you've gotten stuck on, so you could push further on. In a way, I guess this feels like the origins of the restart best mechanic we'd see in later Llamasoft games, a feature I wish more action games would borrow, if I'm being honest. Especially because it gives players a way to better train and get better at a game they're really into, without needing to start from scratch every single time they play. It's no surprise to say that Tempest 2000 gets the strongest of recommendations from me. I feel it's an essential play for those into arcade chaos, or those who desire to chase the zone in their gaming experience, or even those who crave the challenge of mastering its marathon of challenge. Which is why I'm ever so grateful that we've seen the steps we have in Jaguar emulation over the past year, particularly through the release of Atari 50, which has been critical for this, both by including it within its selections, but also in the availability of widely available and highly compatible Jaguar emulation too. So you've got no excuse to enjoy your voyage into the web here. It's not like you need to shell out for an actual Jaguar now in Space Year 2023. Sure, Tempest 2000 did see conversions to other systems, and some of those versions do run smoother and at a better frame rate than this Jaguar original, but I doubt those who are more nostalgic than I will be doing retrospectives on the DOS or Saturn versions in particular, let alone that dubious reworking of it which appeared on the PlayStation. Now, before I wrap up here, I just want to take a time for a little personal reflection. If all goes to plan, you'll be watching this episode 10 years to the day since I uploaded my very first Let's Play style video to the channel. Over that time, things have changed a lot. Whether it's because I've wanted to widen my focus over what I experienced as a kid, to a shift to more of a relaxed, thoughtful look at the games I play and experience, or getting away from just retreading the path I've tread before when it comes to my own enjoyment of gaming, I really feel it's brought me a lot of joy, even amongst the wider challenges. And as for why I'm marking the occasion with Tempest 2000, well, it's kind of simple really. If it wasn't for getting engrossed with that at the first PAX Australia, I don't think the steps that I would have made to meeting certain people, certain friends who were doing their own videos and explorations, wouldn't have got me to start doing my own. So in a way, I guess that's why I've been continuing to make them over this past decade. Being able to explore these games, those that I collect, those that I see in other things, to talk about what makes them interesting to me, and to celebrate them for more than just being a nostalgic artifact in one's life, is really an important factor. It's also been great finding those people who feel the same. Those who have to appreciate these games for what they are and not as a punchline, to not dismiss them as being crap. Even better, it's given me a chance to satisfy my own curiosity more than anything. And I can only hope that as a series, it's done the same for you. I'll admit, I don't know if this series will last another 10 years. The challenges of modern media platforms have made it incredibly hard to thrive, unless you commit to a certain narrow focus or be something you're not. And maybe I'm just tired, but hyperbole, drama, nonsense, faking it or whatever, I find incredibly dull. I guess if you're still here, I just want to say thanks very much for sticking around, whether it's just on this video, on the channel in general, or whatever, especially if you've been here since the early days and appreciated how the vision's changed and still maintain some interest. Now here's to what comes next, and if that excites you too, then all I can ask from you is to do the usual things: giving the video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and maybe consider checking out the video description to see all the options in how you can help support the show. So once again, thank you all very much for watching.